Hi, and welcome to my little series on the Mercury 7. Today we're going to discuss the 7 astronauts in order from their missions, not according to the picture above right there. Right now we have Scott Carpenter on the left, followed by Gordon Cooper, John Glenn, Gus Grissom, Wally Schirra, Alan Shepard, and Deke Slayton. We're going to discuss all 7 men, and I'd like to thank the cadets from A Flight from Nazareth River Air Force Junior ROTC for helping me put this together. So first of all, as you can see, that the spacecraft itself was very, very limited and small. Most of it was designed for very short durations, anywhere from 15 minutes to just over a day. The astronauts were given a window and a little bit of limited maneuverability for the spacecraft itself. So the first astronaut to actually go into space was Alan Shepard. He was born November 18th, 1923 in East Derry, New Hampshire. He was a Navy guy, served on the Navy destroyer Cogswell during World War II, and after that, he started flying with the Navy and entered Navy test pilot school. He flew on the very first Mercury flight, Freedom 7, and was the only astronaut of the program to walk on the moon with Apollo 14 in January 1971. The Mercury mission was a complete success, and it was designed to see if a human could hold and survive suborbital flight, which he did very, very well for those 15 minutes. Anyway, he retired from NASA in 1974 and unfortunately passed away in 1988. As you can see on this diagram, the flight didn't last very long and didn't go very far. From Florida, it just landed in the middle of the Atlantic, about 300 nautical miles or less from where we took off, and about 116 miles straight up. So a very, very quick flight on our first mission. The second astronaut to go into space was Virgil Gus Grissom. He was born April 3rd, 1926 in Mitchell, Indiana. He came from the Air Force. He was an Air Force test pilot and flew 100 Korean combat missions in his F-86 Sabre. In the second Mercury flight, Liberty Bell 7, his mission was also to use a Redstone suborbital rocket to study Mayan's capability in space. It was deemed a successful failure because after splashdown, an explosive hatch opened and sinking the capsule. However, Gus was able to survive unharmed. The third Mercury mission was piloted by astronaut John Glenn. He was actually a Marine Corps pilot, fought in World War II and in Korea, and flew F-86 Sabres. On Mercury's third flight, Friendship 7, Glenn was the first U.S. astronaut to orbit the moon. The Russians had already done this, but we were catching up quickly. We did this by using a new Atlas rocket. The Redstone was a little bit smaller and couldn't go as far. The Atlas rocket could go up to about 100 miles, but allowed the capsule to circle the Earth multiple times, where we couldn't do that before with just the Redstone. Colonel Glenn did retire from NASA in 1964, and in 1974 he was elected to the U.S. Senate and served 24 years until January 1999. A year before he retired from the Senate in 1998, he became the oldest person to fly in space as a crew member of the Discovery Space Shuttle mission. Unfortunately, Mr. Glenn passed away and is now interred at the Arlington National Cemetery. Here you can see a pictorial difference between the Redstone and the Atlas rocket. You can kind of see with the little astronaut in the corner, kind of the size difference. And based on the weight of the capsule, you can imagine the Redstone just didn't have the capability to get us all the way into orbit and to circle the Earth where the Atlas rocket did. So, just using the Atlas rocket for the Mercury mission now, our next astronaut was Scott Carpenter. He was an aeronautical engineer and a pilot in the Navy. He attended Navy test pilot school over at NAS Pax River in Maryland. He was a pilot on the fourth Mercury flight, the Aurora 7, in which he ran into a few issues, one being an anomaly which caused an abort and causing him to land 250 miles away from the intended landing spot. He did run multiple science experiments, one of which was attempting to see a flare on the ground. The mission was deemed a success. Scott Carpenter passed away in 2013 at the age of 88. Wally Schirra was the fifth Mercury flight astronaut on Sigma 7. He later on went to fly Gemini 3, which was used to determine command and control and crew performance of multiple spacecraft in orbit. During his 6 orbits in Mercury Sigma 7, he attained a velocity of almost 18,000 miles an hour and flew up upwards of 175 miles. He did approximately 5 orbits before re-entry. Sadly, he passed away in May 2003 and now resides at Fort Rosecrans Cemetery in San Diego. Gordon Cooper was the sixth and last Mercury astronaut. He flew Faith 7. He flew Faith 7 for 1 day, 10 hours, 19 minutes, and 49 seconds. He's famous for being the first U.S. astronaut to sleep in space. He retired as an Air Force colonel and passed away in his home October 4, 2004 at the age of 77. A portion of his ashes were sent back into space at the request of his wife in 2006.